The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner whose whole brand hangs on a pretty bold promise. Be the honest mechanic that people are hoping to find when they're already stressed out about their car. Our guest today is Brandon Todd, owner of My Honest Mechanic in Concord, North Carolina. My Honest Mechanic operates out of Pit Road South in Concord, located in the business park of Charlotte Motor Speedway, right off Turn 2, as a full-service general repair shop serving the Charlotte area. The shop provides the community with maintenance, diagnostics, drivability work, engine and transmission service, and day-to-day repair for local drivers. Reviews consistently point to the same strengths: honesty, professionalism, transparency, and a team that makes people feel informed instead of pressured. What stands out about My Honest Mechanic is that the brand doesn't try to be clever, it tries to be clear. The name itself is a positioning statement. His shop leans hard into customer service, repeat business, and making sure people feel taken care of in a market where trust is the whole game. Their own language says it plainly: customer service that brings you back. What makes this episode interesting for other shop owners is that My Honest Mechanic appears to be running a trust-first neighborhood model in a world where a lot of shops are still trying to win with coupons, speed, and low prices. Instead, Brandon's trying to win with communication, consistency, and the kind of customer experience that turns one visit into 5 years of loyalty. In this episode, we're going to dig into how Brandon thinks about trust as a business model, what really turns a first-time caller into a long-term regular, how an independent shop earns loyalty without racing to the bottom on price, and what another business owner could learn from a business that put honesty right in the name and then had to live up to it. Brandon, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things we ask everybody that comes onto the show is, what's the car that got you started, or what got you started in this industry? Because for you, I think you got a pretty fun answer for this one.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's in your DNA. I had a dad that was a jack of all trades, and he had me working on his cars in the driveway and changing oil and learning how to wash and wax them 10, 11, 12 years old, and also was into circle track racing, NASCAR racing, and was a big fan of cars going fast and turning left. And growing up in Colorado, that isn't the biggest sport. And so I had a mission in my life to get out east and move to North Carolina and see if I could work on cars to go fast and turn left.
That's awesome, man. And that leads me into kind of the first question for you, which is, for people who don't know the story about My Honest Mechanic and how you got there, talk about that transition from Colorado to North Carolina, and how did you end up here?
Yeah, it's a big journey. And so my high school in Colorado had a really good automotive program. So junior, senior in high school, had a great auto class, was able to get a little bit of a scholarship to technical schools, and I could choose between a couple schools, and I ended up choosing Universal Technical Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. But the primary goal was to build the resume to move out east to build race cars. And doing that, I was in Arizona and got to cut my teeth a little bit at a Nissan dealership and got to be a lube tech there. Arizona's a little different with their open air shops. There's no walls, there's no air conditioning. You're picking up cars on your lifts right out there in the middle of the desert. So it was really cool to kind of get that experience there. And then transfer after I finished my schooling. I got a 2-year degree in automotive and diesel technology to move to North Carolina to do the NASCAR portion of that schooling. And it helped me get job placement with a NASCAR team. And so I was able to kind of get towards the top level pretty quick. And it was pretty neat. So I grew up near Colorado National Speedway, going to NASCAR races there as a kid. And the gentleman whose race car I worked on, Bill Jenkins, we were sitting there watching the Daytona 500. I watched Dale Jarrett win the race, and he said, "Brandon, you're going to go work for him next year." And crazy is that's who I got a job with, Robert Yates Racing. And I got to work in their gear shop and work on transmissions, rear ends, and be in their pit crew development. So it was neat to get there and get to that level. But I realized that racing a little bit for me became more of a hobby than a career. The dedication level that it takes to build race cars and to work as a team and week in and week out, stick to that, takes a lot. And I was a young man, early 20s, still wanted to have a life, still wanted to go out with the friends, still wanted to leave work at 5. And so where that led me was to fall back on my automotive degree, where I was able to do racing as a hobby, but work at a Nissan dealership here in North Carolina and be a line technician working on Nissans. And so I spent 5 years or so at Nissan and got some Nissan factory training, and actually also got involved with racing, which was really cool. Part of my life story got involved with a ministry that travels with NASCAR, where they minister to the drivers, the teams, the kids, and they're the church of NASCAR, where we're motor racing outreach. They go to the tracks and serve the families there and also locally. And I got involved with that. So I was able to do kind of ministry and motorsports together while putting food on the table with my automotive degree working at Nissan. And so that led to serving at a local church and going back to school. And so I've got a 2-year degree in automotive and diesel technology and a 4-year in biblical studies. And so weird resume to have to fix cars, but it played out really well as far as customer service aspect and how I care about treating people and investing in people. And so as it come to be, as I was in ministry, met my wife, going to start a family, changed directions, and felt called to open my own shop. So kind of blend all of these things together: relational, ministry, automotive training, motorsports in the area. I felt called to start a business, and this business name landed in my lap as I was, what would I want to call it? And was looking for the honest mechanic, the one, the only out there. And that was taken, and there was a book written called The Honest Mechanic. And so I found my honest mechanic, and no other shop in the nation had that name, and was able to lock that down, create a nice logo, create a mission statement, and start doing honest automotive repair and go from there. So here we are 13 years later, got 9 employees, 10 bays, 10 lifts, and having a blast. It's awesome.
Yeah. And it's such a, you said it yourself, a unique blend of how you got there. You had performance racing, you had the ministry background, you have the dealer experience, and you just decided, okay, yeah, let's start a shop. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what you learned from those different places in life and how you're pulling the racing experience into what you do every day, and the ministry experience. How are those shaping the way that you started and what you set out to do with My Honest Mechanic?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And it's an interesting thing about how does the motorsports background play into this. I think starting there is seeing elite level motorsports, their organization, their cleanliness, their efficiency, the important attention to detail. I think working under that umbrella in NASCAR really bled into quality and presentation. And so ministry is kind of interesting with leading youth ministry and 6th through 12th graders. The church I served at, we started with 6 kids. And by the time I left there, it was close to 200 between middle school and high school. And so building this ministry of reaching people and also leading volunteers and leading other leaders on how to do it well and do it with integrity and above reproach plays into that. And then starting my own shop, I had no business background. I took no business classes, and I just started this business like a ministry, which created some growing pains because we need it to be for profit. We need to bring in money. I'd like to create a product that does have value in the dollar sense. And so I do. I come from a background of entrepreneurs, and I'm a fourth generation business owner from my background, where we had a brick mason and a store owner, general store, and different people in my past. I look at their stories. I look at where my family has come and gone, and they all serve their communities in different ways. But at the end of their business, they didn't have much left to hand off or to sell or to show. It all relied on their shoulders. And as they went to retire, there wasn't a valuable financial asset to hand off. It was an amazing service to the community and to all the people they served, but it almost was like they were not for-profit businesses. And so
Yeah.
I started out very ministry minded, very low prices, very just do the bare minimum and help people in crisis. So as an automotive repair shop, we are serving people in crisis often because cars break at the least convenient times, and budgeting for alternators and AC compressors and window regulators or transmissions or worse, it is crisis. So helping people navigate, making wise decisions through those situations is something that I enjoy, advising others on how to make good life decisions and whether this car's worth investing into or not. And so that's a big part of my Honest Mechanic, but it took me a few years to get rolling. I did get a business coach. I did get somebody to help me get more structured and organized. I don't know if that's a trend on your show when you take a technician who starts their own shop, being detail oriented, being on top of the books, writing policy. That's, you shout out small shop owners. That's one of our least favorite things to do, is write policy and get people to follow them. That's hard for us when we're technicians and we work with our hands and we're good at fixing cars, but are we good at designing and shaping, molding a business, a small business? And so I did get a business coach to help me hold me accountable to make money, to create policy, to make clarity for my team members to know what to expect and what their job is, and then even clarity for what customers should inspect. Yeah, so it was a wild ride with no business degree. Work that from the ground up, right?
You touched on something there with generational ownership that really stood out to me, and something that if you don't have generations of entrepreneurship in your family, I don't think people really pick up on how important it is to build the systems into the business so that the business can operate without you when you're gone, so that you can leave the legacy behind that you want to leave and still continue to serve the community after you're gone. Talk to me about what systems that you really have intentionally put in place to try to make sure that you don't have the same situation that your generations before you ran into.
Yeah, systems would be, early on, I created this thing I called the Knights of the Round Table. I pulled together family members, an uncle, a cousin, another business owner. All these guys have been in the automotive industry for a while. That it was a group text. It was a meeting I could call once a year to say, hey, what have you seen in this situation? What's a smart decision? What do you do in this scenario when a car comes back? How do you handle this type of customer? I went to people who had already been there and done that to ask them, for me to have the freedom of, hey, can I blow you up with questions whenever needed? So that was one system I put in place early on. And then that dissolved into a business coach, and then learning how to use our software better and add on software to be able to calculate the numbers more true, and how to track your expenses versus your bottom line profits, and how to competitively charge properly in our region of what you should be charging for work and what's fair and who we want to be and all of that, right? Is you're either fast, cheap, or quick, right? But you can't be all three of them. And so figuring out, what do we want to be? Do we want to be cheap but slow? Do we want to be fast but expensive? That whole business model. And so we just want to create the best quality experience, and everybody needs a good mechanic, everybody needs a good dentist, everybody needs a good doctor, because those areas we don't know, and we're just completely trusting. When the dentist says you have a cavity and I'm going to drill on your tooth, you trust they're telling the truth about that and not just trying to make a profit on your crown, but that your mouth for its longevity still needs it. So in the same way with automotive, that's what I want to be for others. And I've seen corruption in the industry and working in different shops, and the way the industry puts pressure on the technician and the service advisor to push sales to improve their own personal paychecks. That's a model I've always struggled with. So as I brought team members on at My Honest Mechanic, they're salary paid, hourly paid, with flat rate bonuses in the background, that it's not fully driven on that one car that comes in your bay. You need to make the most out of it if you want a good paycheck this week. That's not the model we work off of. We are do honest work, take care of the customer, advise them, educate the customer on, do you need a brake flush now, or can it wait to the next oil change? Can it wait 6,000 miles? How do you break up those finances versus what your car needs for preventive maintenance? And so a journey through all of that, that's what's really had good customer retention, is educating customers on their cars, what they need, when they need it, and just being honest of, do you need that brake flush right now or else your brakes won't work? No, you can wait till the next oil change if that's when your tax return comes, or things like that. So helping people make financial decisions and not just seeing their car as a piece of meat to make the most out of.
Yeah. Fixing the car and helping the people. I think that's great. And obviously, for any longtime listeners of the show or who've been with us since we started, I'm sure they're dying for us to make the comparison between our names at this point. So obviously, we've both taken it upon ourselves to put honest in the name. I want to hear your perspective, if you will, on why honesty in the name? Why paint the target on your back if you don't have to?
Yeah, that's what we all want as consumers, is honesty, and people to stand behind their work and to just give me good information on something I don't have knowledge about. And so it's important to be honest, and that's a key principle in my life and who we want to be for others and who we want others to be for us. And so, it's funny you say target on your back, because it is. Of when we were setting up to be a state inspection station and allowing the state look into our facilities, look into what we're doing, state inspections is an easy place for corruption to pass cars illegally through inspections. And so it's, hey, when honesty's in our name, we can't slide through illegal window tint or put altering equipment on your car to sneak it past. And so when you ask My Honest Mechanic to do something dishonest, that also gets a little awkward sometimes with customers. And so we're not for everybody, but what it is, like the state inspection thing, they were kind of skeptical because the state troopers and the police officers deal with auditing and correcting state inspection stations that aren't honest to what they signed up for. And so, we put the target on our back. And even with the IRS, right? You see My Honest Mechanic Incorporated come across the tax table. They want to test that and see, are you being honest, even in the background? So it's worth the target, because it's worth being a person of integrity and testing those convictions to be all that we've been created to be. So you stick it right there in the name.
Yeah. And for me, I'll tell you, I think the name, having honesty there, honesty is something that people always understand, but they don't always implement in their lives. They don't want to have that level of accountability. And for us, we haven't talked about this really on the show in any depth, but we wanted the accountability that comes with putting it in the name. And put us under the microscope, see if we've done anything. We want you to look, because we don't want to be that. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we want you to hold us to a higher standard. Same thing with the Honest Garage podcast. Obviously, it's really a personal topic for me and for everybody within my companies. But I'm curious, what does that look like, that promise of honesty every day in the shop, in the bays, in hiring? How do you carry that through all aspects of your business?
Yeah, you put your feet to the fire, and cars will test you all the time. And we always say here, we learn something new every single day. As a shop, we've been here 13 years. I've got a 20 plus year Honda Master Tech. I've got a 30-year independent shop tech, 20-year independent shop tech. And there's still things we see almost every day that you never seen before. And some of those things will create delays, will create challenges, and all of those challenges test your integrity. And so I think in the hiring process, it's everybody gets the same walkthrough about the expectations of being honest and transparent, and that they will communicate to be transparent in a sense of, hey, I accidentally poured antifreeze in the washer fluid bucket. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to mask it. If we put fluid in the wrong spot or we broke a bolt or whatever, that's what I expect out of everybody hired, is that we're a team. And if you need help, ask for help. So transparency, honesty, and humility is what we ask for. And I think that's tough in the automotive industry. And so can be a narrower window to make a hire, because this industry, you need to be fast, you need to bust your knuckles, you need least amount of delays as possible. So if stopping to fix a mistake creates a delay, that might cost me, that might upset my boss. So I'm just going to keep moving, put some duct tape on it and let it roll. It's not what we're about. And so slowing down to do the job right.
Yeah, I think it's funny how you've connected those two, because most people wouldn't think that honesty has to do with taking your time on something, but it really starts to work its way into all aspects of your business. And I've seen it a lot as we were researching for guests for the show. We talked about it a lot on our prep call. We see it a lot coming out in your reviews. People are talking about how they're treated at your shop, not just whether the repair was done. Have you noticed that customer experience, I'm sure you have, is one of the biggest growth levers in your conversations?
Yeah, and it's so cool. So my office assistant, Lizzie, we get our Google reviews emailed to us, and SureCritic reviews, and she got pumped up, came in, opened up the email, and the person's 5-star review just said, I had the most excellent experience with the lady at the front desk. Didn't even get her name there, but we got the 5-star review because of who she is and the experience she gave the customer of just being authentic and relatable and kind. And I think a lot of people don't always expect that when they walk into an automotive shop, and to find just good, authentic, kind people, whether you're talking about fixing their car or talking about the weather or the game that was on last night, that it's just relational, right? And so connecting with our community through relationship is what we're about. And so you see that in the reviews, and that's the word of mouth is everything. We don't do a ton of marketing. We don't do a lot. And it really is, people are speaking up for us in Nextdoor app, Facebook groups, different places online. When a local says, hey, anybody know a good, honest mechanic? The name works, right? I love it. My friends have sent text messages where their friend says, hey, what's the name of that shop you go to? And they send My Honest Mechanic. And they're like, yeah, him. Okay. What's the name of the shop? They're like, no, that is the name of the shop, My Honest Mechanic. Oh, so the name works, and we have to stick to it. It's important.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually get calls for my business as well for people looking for an honest mechanic. And I'm like, you're about 15 years too late. But I can refer you to a few.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun when you do things the right way and when you earn reviews because of the customer experience side of things. I think that's something that a lot of shop owners miss. They're like, we got to do the best job. We got to get them in and out quickly. And you've proven you can get reviews just because the lady at the front desk, shout out to Lizzie, did such an awesome job in customer service and made them feel welcome. I know one of the things we say here is that no amount of good marketing can overcome a bad reputation. And so that's from a marketing standpoint, we turn people away on an almost every week basis who reach out to us and they're like, hey, we just want to get more customers in the door. And we look at their reviews and their history and we have a conversation with them, and it's, no, we're not the right fit. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good.
Yeah. So I know something that a lot of our shop or a lot of our listeners are independent shop owners themselves, or they're trying to make the leap from tech to shop owner or lead service manager to a shop owner. If you had to start over, like from day one, how would you build it? What have you learned over the last 13 years? What advice would you pass on to those people listening?
Yeah, I wish with the lack of business background and structural things, I think as a technician jumping in to start my own shop, right? So we start out working on people's cars on the weekends and in our driveways and making house calls, and you feel like you're building that customer base that, hey, I could probably do this on my own. Yeah, fixing the car is just a third of what it really takes to do it on a larger scale. And so I don't know if I could go back and do it again. I've got a friend right now who started his own plumbing company, and he actually was one of my first technicians at my shop. That he was in NASCAR. He was an entry level technician. He worked with me the first 4 years. Now he's starting his own plumbing company, and it is cool to see and speaking to him of getting into those networking groups and business coach groups. He was able to get into a business coach situation to help get the pricing right out the gate and get the policies out there, get your mission statement, who you are and what you want to be and what your goals are before you hit the grand opening button. It will just start you out on such a better footing than just kind of going at it with passion, conviction, and some mechanic skills. You'll succeed so much faster with not trying to reinvent the wheel. I think that's a statement I use a lot. I don't want to just reinvent the wheel and go through the school of hard knocks and figure it all out. Is using your network, right? That was one thought I had too, is how important it is to be allies with other local shops, build relationships with your neighboring shops. There's things that I don't do that they can do, and I'm still taking care of my customer even when they call in with a Mercedes with an oil leak. We don't work on European cars, but I've got a great shop that has the same convictions and goals that I have. And so, Mr. Customer with the Mercedes, go on down the street to this one and they will take good care of you. Tell them My Honest Mechanic sent you, and that'll hold them accountable. And so I do think it's important that we don't see local shops near us as our enemy or as our competition, but as allies to work together to serve this community. Because there's plenty of cars out there and there's plenty of population. And at least where I live, it's not so cutthroat. There's plenty of inventory. So let's just take care of our community together. Let's serve this community well, no matter what they drive and what their needs are. Right now, I'm booked about 1 week out. We do about 18 appointments a day. And so when somebody calls in and says, my check engine light came on, or my brakes are squeaking, or my radiator blew, I can't help that car for potentially a week, which is my backlog problem. But I can send them to 3 other reputable shop owners that I've sat down with and met with multiple times, and I know that they're going to take care of them.
Yeah.
So
that's great, man. One of the things we try to do on the show is build community within this industry and unite the industry, kind of the way you just talked about. With that in mind, what's the best way for people to connect with you and stay up to date on My Honest Mechanic in Concord?
Yeah, a couple of social platforms, really is Facebook, Instagram. You can see what we're doing there, what we're up to. So you can find me on there. If you have any thoughts or questions or feedback, you're welcome to email me at the shop, myhonestmechanic@gmail.com. And you can communicate, connect directly through that. But yeah, I love networking. I love meeting other people that are doing the same things I'm doing. And that, again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we can lean on each other to help our family succeed, help our community succeed. That's what matters most. So keeping that open door policy to work together, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time to be on the show, share your knowledge with our listeners out there, and to open up the door for connections so that people can dive deeper if they want to reach out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you got value from today's conversation, reach out to Brandon, send him an email, connect with him on social, do your thing there. If you got value from today's show, obviously follow the show, leave us a review. It helps people find our show the same way that it helps people find your shops. So reviews are beneficial all the way around. Marketing hat off now. But for more real world resources and marketing advice, you can always reach out to us at Honest Mechanic Marketing. But yeah, one more big thank you to Brandon Todd for being on the show today. And thanks everybody out there for listening. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
Obviously, it's a much smaller structure. In three, I've got a shop manager and then 2 full-time tech. We have weekly meetings where, anything that and I have truly an open door policy because my desk is the service office that they come into all day long. Anything that they come up with or have to say or share goes right basically to the top of the food chain, which is me. But that's a highly competitive market, especially now. The more technical it's gotten, the less do-it-yourselfers there are out there. The guys, the AutoZone and AutoZone Advance, who used to cater to DIY, over the past 15 years, have pivoted. And they've got programs, they've got training, So I would say don't be afraid to ask. If you need something, whether it's equipment, training, help finding techs, they all have their sales reps that come around and they want your business. So don't be afraid to ask.